Well, Alex Noble knows what it means to fight. At just 16 years of age, a devastating rugby accident left him with a severe spinal cord injury and C4 quadriplegia, with doctors saying he may never regain movement below his neck. But Alex is Alex, and he refused to accept that as his future. After waking from a 4-day coma, his first words to his brother Zach were, "If I fight, you fight." So those 4 words sparked a movement which now reaches hundreds of thousands of people.
And Alex has been defying the odds ever since, going from learning to breathe again to standing with a 20-kilo weighted vest and even skydiving. How about that? Now, 23, he's a best-selling author, he's a fabulous motivational speaker, a university graduate and a businessman, and is about to take his fight to an even bigger stage with a very powerful new role. Let's get some more.
Yeah, we welcome the remarkable Alex Noble back to the Morning Show. Lovely to see you, Alex, again.
You too. Thanks for having me on.
You are just absolutely the embodiment of resilience. So what does that word now mean to you after this period of time?
Yeah, well, to be honest, I never have really seen myself as resilient or look at myself that way at all. Yes, some people throw that word around with me, but I just, wake up in the morning and just do the best that I possibly can, and, when life gets tough, realise that it could be a whole lot worse, and then I keep going on.
Just so you know, that's called resilience. That's what everyone's talking about, mate. It's amazing stuff you do. Now, for those of you who don't know your story, are you happy to take us back to the day, the moment that it all changed?
Yeah, so long story short, I was, playing rugby, and I dedicated my whole life to playing rugby, and I was playing for New South Wales Rugby Sevens. It was like a training session, and we were playing, and about halfway through this training session, I got tackled badly and landed on my head, and immediately lost all movement from head to toe, and I was flat on my back on the floor, paralysed throughout my whole body, unable to move a single thing. And yeah, from that point on, that's when I broke my neck, my C4 vertebrae, and became a quadriplegic, and then underwent spinal surgery and a 4-day coma, and spent the next 9.5 months in hospital relearning how to live my life and regaining movement in my upper body and shoulders and everything like that. And yeah, that was the injury.
That was the injury, but that is not your story, is it? What happened from that point on? The country rallied, your family, there by your side every second, of course, but the whole country rallied behind you, it seemed. You then just fought with such determination, and not only did you get out of rehab, you have gone on to become a best-selling author. You do corporate speeches. It really was this sort of moment in time which you have absolutely turned around. Is that how you see it?
Yeah.
Because that's how we see it from the outside.
Yeah, I kind of saw my injury and everything that happened to me not as dirt, but more like fertiliser for all of the growth that I did and all the things that I have achieved. And, now I'm living a life that I never would have dreamed of living, and all the things that I've accomplished. I never thought that I could ever do that prior to my injury when I had my whole body, you said, now I'm doing motivational speaking to millions of people across the country. I've written a book, which I didn't think I ever read a book in my life. I'm a lawyer in 2 months' time. I'm now an ambassador for Spinal Cure, which I'm sure we'll talk about soon. And yeah, I guess it shows that even when the worst things happen to people, you can still do great things. And that's kind of my goal in life now too, is to show people that even if it's hard, even if it's unfair, even if your life might be more challenging than others, you still always have the ability to become someone great and do great things and make an impact in the world.
Gee, you're a great guy to be talking about Spinal Cure Australia. You're really going to deliver this message well. Talk us through this new role and what it means to you.
Yeah, so I'm an ambassador for Spinal Cure Australia, which is an organisation that raises funds for spinal cord injury research to hopefully find a cure. And so I've done a lot of work with Spinal Cure in the past to help raise awareness and funds, which they then pass on and distribute to various projects and research throughout Australia. And now I've got the formal ambassador role, so a bit more obligation and duty to continue to help Spinal Cure promote their overall objective of one day finding a cure to help people like me with spinal cord injuries to fix paralysis and, relearn how to walk again. And yeah.
Where's the research sitting on that? Because government funding is crucial, and that's what we need to push for. How close is some sort of breakthrough? Because we see those skeleton, electroskeleton, is it?
Yeah, there's electric stimulation. There's a lot of different research going on, and there's every one of them is so much advancements lately, and they're getting very close to a cure. However, the main barrier that's stops or limitation that's we still need to overcome is the funding. Because spinal cord injury compared to some other conditions, it's quite small. For example, compared to cancer or other ones. So it gets a lot less attention and therefore less funding by big organisations and government. But so what we really need is more funding, because with the funding we can really get over the line. We're nearly there. It's just that last little push, and increased funding will get that push.
Alex, as we say goodbye, you're one of the most inspirational characters we've ever met. And I know you touch on it in your book, and of course, your motivational speaking. If someone's having a bad day and they just need a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, we know how much you've been through. What would you say to someone just looking to get over a challenge or two?
Yeah, I would say just remember that there is someone, in hospital right now that would do anything in the world to be in your exact position. So even though you may be going through some challenge or difficulty or suffering, remember, if it was worse, you would wish to be where you are right now. So smile.
Just smile.
Good on you.
Congratulations, the new Spinal Cure ambassador. We also have to mention too that you have just graduated university with a law degree and a business degree. So well done. Who would have thought that 16-year-old boy would have achieved so much to this point, and you've got so much more to conquer. Well done. For more information about Spinal Cure Australia and to support their life-changing work, head to themorningshow.com.au. Alex Noble, thank you.